What is up, everybody? We're back here at King Film Sports for the NFL Week 6 reaction and power rankings here, as we had a great slate of games today on Sunday, all throughout from the London game to the Sunday night game. So we will go over all of the betting locks and surprising results that we had today, and then power rank the 10 best teams. So let's get into it here. As you can see, and as I titled the last video, my Week 6 predictions, lock of the year, 2-unit lock on the Niners minus the 3 points. We also ended up having Niners minus 2.5 in the first half, along with a couple player props, which was very profitable there, as the Niners end up winning by 12. They were up by 20 points early in the third quarter. Looked like they were going to run away with it, but their special teams continues to be a liability. They let Laviska Shenault and the Seahawks get the kickoff return touchdown. Then the Seahawks score another touchdown on offense, and all of a sudden it ends up being a close game. But the Niners running game with J.P. Mason and Isaac Guerendo end up bailing them out there, along with a couple big plays on defense, turning over Geno Smith there. Brock Purdy thought he played pretty well as well. So the Niners course correct their season, get back to first place in the NFC West there, up to 3-3, and have a big opportunity this next week against Kansas City there. Next, when we get to the Jaguars and the Bears here, had the Bears minus the 1 point and was feeling very nervous about this one, so I only had it at a half-unit play. But the Bears end up winning this one by a lot. Jaguars started out the game well, but got stopped to a field goal on that first drive and really just couldn't do anything until it was garbage time in that one. Caleb Williams looks really good for the Bears here, gets them to 4-2. Starting to improve here with his play as a quarterback, but really playing weak teams thus far. So really, we'll see what the Bears look like when they play against better teams later on, but the Jags now 1-5. I mean, this experiment has largely failed. Doug Peterson might be out as head coach before the season ends, and Trevor Lawrence, although he got the $200 million contract, his play has been very suspect so far, and their defense has been absolutely horrible thus far. A couple other results here, didn't have any betting locks in the video. Ravens spread pushes there as they get the 7-point victory. Clearly the better team there, but still a couple concerns on that defense, but we're able to run the ball very well, and Lamar Jackson was prolific through the air. Jaden Daniels as well on the Commanders side was decent. Then the Cardinals got absolutely smashed by the Packers there. Wasn't even close. This Arizona team just continues to be inconsistent there, and the Packers offense really played well in that one, so the Packers win easily. Then, I mean, a game that I thought we should have covered. It was a great spot for us. Drake May ends up coming in and starting this game, and was really tumultuous. He had a few good plays, especially near the end, but a couple big mistakes as well, giving the Texans some short fields. And Houston just overall the better team, and they capitalized on some opportunities in that one. So Patriots defense just didn't play well enough for us to get the win there. So Texans win in a blowout, and we do not cover. Then the Bucks at Saints here, we ended up taking the Bucks minus 2.5, then played the Saints back a little bit at plus 3.5, and the Bucks win easily here, as the Saints, although they did put up 27 points in the second quarter, got absolutely run out of the building here, as Tampa Bay and that offense puts up 51 points there. Rattler actually looked decent for a few drives in this game, but ultimately got exposed in the fourth quarter with a couple of picks there, so the Bucks get a much-needed divisional victory there. Then we had the Browns plus the 9 points here in Philadelphia. Eagles team coming off of the bye. A lot of people thought that Philadelphia would just run them out of the building in this one. It was far from the case. I expected a decent performance from this Browns offense, and we didn't really get it. The Browns were largely only in the game because of that blocked kick near the end of the first half return for the touchdown, which really bailed us out here, made it a very close game. It looks like the Browns might win the game, but they had a few unfortunate mistakes later on. And the Eagles offense with Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown gets it right there, end up winning by 4, but closer than a lot of people expected, and we hit the spread plus 9. Then the Titans-Colts game. This one was very interesting here, and just a classic Titans loss. Joe Flacco ends up getting the start here for the Colts. I expected Richardson to play in my last prediction video, so I'm fortunate there. And Flacco, just made a couple more plays in that game. Just overall the better quarterback than Will Levis, and these two rosters are about comparable there, so Colts end up winning by 3 and a close one in Nashville there. Then a slew of betting lock losses here, as we started out with the Broncos plus the 3, and this one really just had no traction from the beginning. Bo Nix had an interception on, I think, the third play of the game, and then the Chargers just went at it from there. Herbert really played well, I think, in this one off the bye. He's clearly healthy now. The O-line is healthy again, and the perimeter players playing very well there against a good Denver Broncos team, but the Chargers did falter a little late. Broncos did mount a little bit of a comeback effort there, only ended up losing by 7, but Chargers clearly the better team, even in a raucous Denver environment in the altitude there. Then one that I think got really unlucky in spite of the final score. I know the Raiders lost by 19 points in this one. I'm telling you, they should have definitely covered this game. Very unfortunate circumstances. First of all, there were 2 roughing the passer penalties, one of which the Steelers were in the red zone. Justin Fields throws an interception, which he gets bailed out on. The Steelers end up scoring there. And later on, it's a 3rd down. They call a roughing call. Justin Fields throws an incompletion on 3rd down. Najee Harris ends up breaking out a touchdown run later on that drive, not to mention a Raiders fumble on their own side of the field. 3rd-string running back that ends up giving the Steelers a touchdown before half. They had a punt blocked. And with all of that happening, it was still a 2-possession game in the 4th quarter. Raiders' chance to at least make it close didn't end up being very close at all, as Aiden O'Connell, I think, is worse than Gardner Minshew. I mean, this Raiders team is in absolute dire straits. Shambles right now. Antonio Pierce probably his job on the line coming up soon, so we will see on this Raiders team. But I'm still not sold on the Pittsburgh Steelers at this point right now. I just think this was more of this Las Vegas team crumbling and the Steelers taking advantage of some mistakes there. And then we got to this Falcons at Panthers game. Really felt good about Carolina here. I didn't get the +7 as is on the screen, only got +6, but even still, I felt really good with Andy Dalton in this offense, but I probably ignored this Carolina defense too much because they are absolutely abysmal. I think they're the worst defense in the league, bar none, at this point. And even though Dalton, that offense, put up 20 points in this one, it was just never going to be enough there, even if they padded on a couple scores late, because Kirk Cousins and this offense were just moving it at will there. And then finally, when Dalton and that offense made the mistakes, it was absolutely over. So Atlanta gets a big win in the division there. Then you get to the Lions and the Cowboys, not a lot to be said there because it was just a bloodbath from the get-go. The Cowboys get absolutely smashed in that one. Just an embarrassing season, even though they end up being 3-3 going into the bye week. Then they play at San Francisco on a Sunday night in 2 weeks, so we'll see if they can course correct there. But at this point, this Dallas team looks absolutely fraudulent there. Detroit looks like a Super Bowl contender, but Aiden Hutchinson does go down. I think that is massive there, so we'll see if they make any roster moves at the deadline, as that defense and secondary hasn't been great, and now front seven gets dealt a huge blow there. And then lastly, as you see, we had the Giants plus the 4.5 points, just a wretched beat there, as yes, the Bengals are probably the better team, and we did get screwed on some injury news with no Devin Singletary in this game and no Malik Neighbors, but thought that the Giants played decent enough to win this game. They made a couple big plays on offense late, but Daniel Jones in that first half was just absolutely abysmal. Just to have 0 points there is heinous against a Bengals defense, which, yes, they did put up a good effort today, but this was one of the worst defenses in the league coming into this game, and to only put up 7 points is really, really bad. Giants defense did come to play, and Bengals perhaps a bit concerning their play on offense, but they did make the plays when it counted most. Burrow, what a touchdown run there, so tough beat there to lose our plus 4.5, but the Bengals just overall the better team there, end up winning by 10. So with all that being said, we get to my power rankings here, and reminder that the Bills and the Jets who play on Monday Night Football will not be included. Reminder that we have the Jets +3 in that one as our betting lock, and we will go over the extensive betting lock and game picks record in tomorrow's video, the Week 7 predictions video, along with our betting locks and game predictions there. But here we will get to our power rankings, and it is essentially a neutral field favorability power rating here. On a neutral field, I would take the number 1 team to be favored over all of the teams, then number 2 in descending order, and so forth. So hopefully that's understandable here, but willing to take a lot of blowback in the comments here, as I'm sure I always will. Number 1, we started out with the Chiefs. Now, I do not think that there's a huge gap between them and the rest of the league, especially because of these injuries. Rashee Rice out for the season, obviously. And I do think that their tackle situation and offensive line is not great. They had the rookie that they drafted in the 2nd round. I think that he's going to be exposed over the latter stage of this season, so they've got to work that out. But overall, with Pacheco, Carson Steele, Kareem Hunt, whoever they're playing at running back, they've been able to run the ball. And Mahomes has not played well this season, but still got them to 5-0. The offense is not going to be a problem. You know that in big situations they will pull through. And the defense has been absolutely stellar like they were last year and in the playoffs. So really can't knock this team. It's not eons between them and everyone else, as I'll get to the Niners at number 2 here. Probably only a half point or less between those two teams. So yes, now let's go to the Niners. And I know a lot of people are going to be saying, Niners 3-3, how can you have them at number 2? It's just because of their talent composite on this team. Brock Purdy playing just as good as he did last year. When he's not turning the ball over, he is a top 5 quarterback according to all the metrics there, an MVP candidate for sure. And yes, they are without Christian McCaffrey. They'll be getting him back soon. But Jordan Mason, even when he goes down, they have Isaac Guerendo, Patrick Taylor in the backfield there, who are both decent. And then good stable of tight ends and good weapons outside with Debo and Ayuk, of course. Then their defense, I mean, I thought they played better against Seattle. I think is going to have a big season. He's already produced massively so far because they have Javon Hargrave out for the season. Devondre Campbell at the linebacker position, a bit of a liability there, but Fred Warner, clearly the best linebacker in the league, and they will get Dre Greenlaw back in a couple of weeks. And then that secondary has been kind of ravaged by injuries, but I've generally been impressed by their play at points in this season. I think as they continue to get healthy, this defense will continue to improve, especially with their defensive coordinator Sorensen there and their special teams. As I mentioned in that Seahawks recap, it continues to be a liability. Jake Moody on the IR, Matthew Wright, their new kicker, has been fine, but in terms of the kick returns and punt returns, they just have not been good this season, so we'll continue to monitor that. But Niners at the number 2 spot. Then next we get to the number 3 spot where we have the Ravens, and I honestly have similar outlook between the Niners and Ravens at this point. The offenses have been stellar, but the defenses have had some clear holes and just some game management things. Ravens not as bad, only with the 2 losses, but the 2 games that they lost could arguably be undefeated at this point right now. Lamar playing stellar, but even so, they did let the Commanders into that game. I thought that they could have dominated them, pushed them out, won that game by multiple possessions there, but clearly the defense just isn't as good personnel and scheme-wise as it was last year there, but not a huge separation between them and the Niners and the Chiefs, and not much separation between them and the Lions at all. The Lions are climbing up as well in similar outlook. Their offense is absolutely unstoppable at the moment. The defense, I think, although they did play very well in Dallas last week off the bye, I do not think that they are built for the long haul, and I mentioned that Hutchinson injury. I mean, look at that Seattle game. They let a mediocre Seattle offense, I think, get 29 points in that game with Geno Smith there on Monday night. So I am not sold on this team. I do not think that they are quite as good as these top 3 teams, but no big gap. Although Jared Goff has played very well this season so far, I think he's probably the worst of these 4 teams' quarterbacks that I have right here on the screen right now. So that's why the Lions are in 4th in spite of that great offensive line, running game, and perimeter talent there. Then next we get to number 5 and number 6. So 3 straight NFC North teams, as you can see. Vikings undefeated here, 5-0. We're on the bye this last week, but just have to honor their record and their achievement here thus far this season, as they have knocked off a few of the big dogs here. Niners obviously have number 2, and they completely took them to school in week 2, and then knocked off Houston, who we'll have later coming up, and then the Packers team at number 6 there, and they do host the Lions this week. I think that will be a big game there. Stay tuned for my prediction tomorrow in that game. Then we get to the aforementioned Packers here. Obviously did lose to the Eagles and Sao Paulo to start out the season, and did lose to this Minnesota team. But other than that, I think Jordan Love's play has been a bit up and down, but I do think he continues to improve there, and I am especially liking the development of that defense after they played horrible in week 1 against the Eagles. I think that they have slightly improved there. So in general, I do think that there is a bit of a gap between the Lions and then the Vikings and the Packers. But I do think that this Green Bay team is improving there, so that gets them to the number 6 spot. Then next we get to the Houston Texans. Now I know that the Texans are 5-1, but I do think that they are a bit overrated at this point. I do think that that defense has a few holes, and I think that they will be exposed this week against Green Bay. I know that Stroud continues to be pretty good, although he has had a couple turnover-worthy plays this season that he did not have last season, and Nico Collins on the IR is a bit concerning there, but good win, and good of them just to keep racking up these wins here to get to 5-1. That will be huge for playoff positioning later on. And then a team that has not done that so far in the Bengals, I do have them at number 8, maybe slightly controversial here because of that horrible record being 2-4, but I mean, you just look at some of these games. Yes, week 1, Burrow played horrible. They lost to the Patriots, a fluky game. Thought they definitely should have beaten the Chiefs in week 2. And then in week 3, their offense played great against the Commanders, but they just could not get a stop there. Week 4, played great again on offense against the Panthers, won that game. And then week 5, just the shootout against the Ravens at home that they got screwed in. Their defense played horrible again, but defense played well this week. We already know that the offense can be prolific, so that was good to see against New York in a primetime spot. Needed that game, and they won it. A lot of this is just hinged on what their offense has done thus far this season here. I think that they deserve it with Burrow, and if this defense continues to improve like we saw today, then I do think that they will be a top 10 team in the league in terms of neutral field favorability for the long haul. And then we finish it out with the 9 and 10 teams here, the Falcons and the Eagles. Falcons, very impressive win today, and I just have to give them the edge in the division over the Bucs because they won won that Thursday night game, although frankly there is not a lot separating those two teams, and Falcons obviously did beat the Eagles, and I just think that they're the slightly better team at this point. I do have the Eagles at the number 10 spot. I think maybe the general public has them a bit higher. I mean, they were favored by damn near 10 points against Cleveland today, but I probably think they're overrated from that perspective. They are definitely a decent team, but I think that their defense is not great, and I think that their offense is a bit of a paper tiger there because I think Jalen Hurts is a bit overrated as their quarterback. I think that he will be exposed later on this season, but just all of the talent that they have on that team makes them a worthy contender and probably the best in their division there. Again, have to mention that the Bills would probably be in this power rating, although I'm picking against them, against the Jets, but cannot rank them as they have not played yet this week. So with all that being said, let me know what you guys have in your top 10 in the comments. What is your guys' reactions to this week? Let me know. As always, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you all next.